Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today I am finally going to be doing my Pixar ranking as of 2024. So we've just seen the release of Inside Out 2, so what would be a better time to rank all of these amazing films. Now if you didn't already know, Pixar is actually my favourite film studio of all time. I think pretty much all of these films are fantastic. That is why I don't even have an F or an E tier on here. I've literally just gone straight on with it. And yeah, so this is going to be a very long video. I don't know how long it'll be, but I'd like to go full in depth on these because some of these films I haven't spoke about in a while, and my opinion has changed a lot. And it's like I haven't done a ranking with Inside Out, Elemental, Lightyear, Turning Red. I think the last one I did was when Onward or Toy Story 4 came out, so haven't done any of these ones in it yet. But let's not hold off any longer. And we've got them all in release order. And keep in mind, this is all my personal opinion, and I am going to warn you. Yes, there are some huge hot takes in here, so I'm fine if you disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. All I ask is that you just respect my opinion. Now, with all that said, let's just get started. So the first one we have here is the first ever 3D animated film, Toy Story. Now, Toy Story is a cult classic. It's a very, very important film. So, um, it's so good. I mean, I don't know where I'm going to put this. Do I put it in A? Do I go straight with S? Or I also may change these as well, just warning. I think we're going to go A for now. So, Toy Story takes a pretty much simple story. You have Woody, who is a much loved character who kind of gets put to the side when the space ranger Buzz Lightyear comes along. And it's not only a story about friendship, but it's also a story about acceptance and where your role in life changes, whether that takes a back seat or a front seat. And it created what might be the best film duo of all time, being Woody and Buzz. Actually, I take that back. There is another duo that I think is the best one, and they are actually from Pixar, so you'll see them later on. But yeah, Toy Story, it's a cult classic. It's funny, it's emotional, it's just got everything in there. So I love this one so much. Um, yeah, I'm literally have nothing to say positive about this. I have no issues with it. The only reason it's not up here is just because I already know it's going to be stacked This, but this isn't even when I talk about my ranking of the Toy Story films. This one is actually closer to the bottom, but that's not saying much because they're all very, very, very good films. So you know, okay. Um, if I if you hear me drinking, sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking, so I've got a drink next to me. So next one up here is Bug's Life. Now, Bug's Life is an odd one for me because I think at the time it was a really great film, but the film has aged quite badly. So for that reason, I think I'm gonna put it in C for now. I'm gonna put it top of C. Reason being is I think the characters, I can't even remember the names. Is it Flick? I think the main character is. Like, they're just not as memorable. And I think the animation doesn't look great. It looks like a downgrade from Toy Story. It looks more like a PS2 cutscene or something like that. So it doesn't look quite as good in that aspect. Um, I also think I don't know why, it just had a bit of a darker edge. And I'm all for animated films having darker edges. I think it's great when they do that. But for some reason, this one just, I don't really know. It was odd, really. It's a good film though. It's not a bad film. Like C tier is normally known as pretty bad, but for Pixar standards, it's not too bad. So it's good, but not a great film. Toy Story 2. This is a instant S tier. Toy Story 2 is an absolute masterpiece. It takes everything the first one did right and doubles down on it. It is so good. Obviously, we have new characters with Jessie and Bullseye who are so likable and so lovable and have such a heartbreaking backstory. And obviously, we have this plot related to Star Wars. It's knocking off Star Wars with Buzz Lightyear and his father, which is so funny. Then we have Woody getting hooked up on the other side of the adventure. We have so many memorable scenes. We have scenes like the store scene, which is so great, and all the Woody's cowboy stuff. It's got everything in there. I love this film so much. The airport scene, oh, that's a masterpiece of a scene. Um, it was really really great, and this film went through production hell because the whole file was deleted, and because one person during their time off work, their annual leave, decided to just create Toy Story 2 without anyone knowing, and this is what we ended up getting. So it shows that there's always hope. There's always light at the end of the tunnel with production hell. Then we have Monsters Inc. Yeah, Monsters Inc. We've got two S tiers in a row. Monsters Inc. is one of my favourite films of all time, if you didn't already know. So I think the thing with this one is it takes such a bizarre plot of monsters under the bed scaring children for power, as in scare power. And that's such a bizarre plot line that it works magnificently. Then we have obviously Boo in the mix, who just bestows this really, really cute theme to the story. And we have Mike and Sully, who are the best film duo of all time. I stand by that. And they're both so different, yet when they're not together, they're completely different. They're two opposites who react, and you can't have one without the other. So I love Monsters Inc. so much. It's funny, it's emotional, it's just a beautiful experience. It's a short film, but it's an absolute classic at the same time. And it's one of those Pixar films that it's always on in my house. Like I have so many like members of my family who just love this film. Like everyone loves Monsters Inc. I've never come across someone who doesn't like this film. So there you go. Then we have Finding Nemo, and I love this one so much as well. This one is such a great film. Actually, having rewatched this one recently, it just hits so much harder as you get older. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it above Toy Story, because I do this film honestly. First of all, animation is gorgeous. The messaging about parenting is done in such a great way that really hooks you. And someone as a character like Marlin, who should come across as pretty unlikable, but because you spend the first 10 minutes seeing what happened through his story, he's presented a lot differently than other characters. So then we have him kind of interacting with characters like Dory and all these other characters, and it's done in the most beautiful way. And the scene when you actually see Nemo, Marlin reunite is one of the most emotional Pixar scenes, and it's not even got anything emotional. It is literally a father and son reuniting, but because you've been on this whole journey and you've seen the pain and the grief all the characters suffer, just to see that one bit pays off so well. So I do love this film so much, and it's an absolute crowd pleaser. Then we have Incredibles. Now this is the first one, and I didn't actually realise how dark this one was until like I was a bit older. I really do like Incredibles, but I am going to put it in B. So the thing with Incredibles is I love superhero films. I'm a massive Marvel, DC fan, everything. Like I love superhero films. And Brad Bird just put his eyes into Incredibles, and it works so well because it's about a man having a midlife crisis while balancing out his family, work life, and being a superhero at the same time. And the characters are just so lovable and likable, and you just care for them so much. The film actually has the longest runtime out of any Pixar film, so it can probably give itself time to breathe, and it never ever feels like it's dragging either. Syndrome is a great villain who turns into a literal serial killer. However, he's done in a way which he presents as evil, but also you can kind of his plan, as stupid as it is, as you've seen superhero films, if you're someone who's seen loads of superhero films, you can actually kind of understand his idea of when everyone's super in the world, no one will be. So yeah, the reason it's not a bit higher is I don't know why. I just haven't connected as well with it. This is one of those films though which may go up as we go through the ranking. So Cars, oh, I love Cars so much. Cars is my favorite animated film of all time, actually. So I know people hate Cars or love it, you know, but I don't care really. Cars is S tier for me. Um, this film is a masterpiece in the making. Um, so you have this hotshot race car who is dropped into a place which isn't all fast and racing. Lightning McQueen is such a classic character, and as you see him develop into Radiator Springs and see this area, it hits so hard. And the characters are so lovable. You know, you've got Mater, you've got McQueen, you've got Sally, you've got Sheriff, you've got Doc Hudson. You've got all of these characters who you really, really care about. Not to say the soundtrack is amazing. We've got Real Gone, Life is a Highway, Route 66. All of these ones hit really, really hard. And as you see McQueen develop into this better version of himself, you can really support him because as he makes these wrong choices and as he is selfish in the film, as you see him develop and leave that behind, it actually hits really, really hard. And for me, I really, really do care about these characters and this world. So I could go on and on about this film. You know, I've heard some complaints about this film that it's too long. Lightning McQueen is unlikable, and there's not enough racing sequences. Like, I'm sorry, that's not the story it was going for. Lightning McQueen is not unlikable. I've only actually ever heard one person say that. To be fair, he's not selfish. He's a very, very well written character who is still likable when he's at his lowest form. So for that reason, I love this film. I need to stop talking about Cars. I've been speaking about this one for too long. Okay. Next one on here is Ratatouille. Oops. Yep, there we go. Ratatouille. Now, this is a funny film because this has probably got one of the most bizarre concepts of any film. So I think I'm going to put this one in B. Or do I put it in A? Now, we're going to go with B for now. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. So, Ratatouille. So, this film is about a rat pulling someone's hair to control them to cook, and a rat becoming a chef. It is bizarre, and it's out of this world, but it works so well at the same time that I really don't know how they're able to accomplish this. So, the characters are so lovable and so likable. In fact, sorry, I need to change it. It's going in A. Sorry. So the characters are so likable and lovable. The plot is so bizarre, yet hooks you so well, and it really hits those beats when it needs to. And while it can be really funny and really stupid at the same time, it never shies away from being darker and more emotional. And it's another one of those films which is a bit longer, so it gives itself time to breathe. And I know some people, you know, either love or hate this film. I do love this film so much. I mean, I just think the way it's presented and the way it kind of explains its ideas of cooking and things like that is so weird, yet actually fantastic. Like, this film does not deserve to be this good. Like, this film is so great. I don't know why they never did a sequel to this one, because out of most of the Pixar films that have got a sequel, I actually think this is one of the better ones that could have got one. Because I think there's more you can do with it. You know, you can expand and go further with the characters. Obviously, you know, with Remy and Linguini and everything. Anyways, I'm getting a bit sidetracked, but no, this film is great. It's a really, really good film. So then we've got Wall-E. Now, Wall-E is a very, very important film. And the complaint that I hear some people have is Wall-E doesn't talk, so I can't connect with it. That is the most stupid thing I've ever heard. But this one is going to go at the top of B. So the first like 20 minutes of this film is completely silent, and the you can they Pixar managed to make you connect to a character who doesn't make a single noise. He's on planet Earth on his own, yet even just looking into his eyes, he projects such great emotion. And that's something which so many films are unable to do. And the fact that this film did the first 20 minutes without saying a single word, yet provoked so much emotion. This is also a film which has a lot of self-awareness, about the environment and, technology evolving, and also it's about not it's about having family at the same time, because as we see Wall-E on his own, and then obviously he meets up with Eva, it actually really hits hard, and it's one of those films where it doesn't have like a specific scene which is supposed to be really emotional. It's just the whole film presents itself really emotionally. And I don't know, I really connect with this film. Um, the reason it's not higher is I think some of the scenes with kind of on the spaceship and with the humans isn't quite as good. Um, so yeah, I didn't really connect as well with the human aspect and with like the captain on the ship and everything. But it's still great. It's still a great film. I've spoken about this one film for so long. Sorry. Then we got Up. So Up is yeah. I think I'm gonna get quite a large amount of hate for this film for saying this, but I am gonna put it at B for now. Um, and I think the first 10 minutes of Up are some of the greatest animated moments of all time. Um, as we see Carl and Ellie grow and then not being able to have the chance to have a baby and live a life, and then even get to the point where she dies, it really, really is emotional. And the idea about having a dream and letting that dream come true hits really, really hard. So when this film tries to be emotional, it hits really, really hard. But as we get into the actual plot and the actual story, when we have the dogs and we have the explorer, I can't remember his name, it just doesn't quite stick the landing. Because every single scene which is supposed to be emotional and tug at the heartstrings does, and it does it very, very successfully. But all of the other bits are just good. They're just good. Like, so I want to love this film, but I just can't. I think the opening scene is beautiful and it's heartbreaking, but I just couldn't quite connect as well with it. Then we have Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 is an instant S tier for me. And this film is very, very emotional. So, as we've watched Toy Story 1 and 2, we've seen, obviously, the toys with Andy, and we've seen him grow up. Now he's going to college, and it's what happens to the toys? They get sold. They go away. And it's a film about letting go. And it's a film about developing. Especially with Woody as he learns to let go of Andy and accept that he's not needed with him anymore. He's grown up, therefore he needs to just let go. And we have obviously all the other characters who don't struggle as much. They accept it. But then we have characters like Woody who needs to take time to develop and come to terms with what is happening. And it's just so great in the way that it does it. And also, we have probably the best Pixar villain being Lotso. Lotso is this character who although he's a twist villain, and Disney are very guilty of doing that, he's one of those ones where you can actually understand his grief. And even though he is absolutely evil and the stuff that he does is out of his mind, the way that it does it and also presents sympathy for Lotso despite his actions is done in an amazing way that I just didn't see coming. And obviously we have that final 5 minutes of the film where we see Andy say goodbye to the toys. Makes me cry every time. Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I cry literally every time. So then we go to Cars 2. Now I know everybody hates Cars 2. I absolutely love Cars 2. And it's one of the best Pixar films for me. So I'm actually going to put it here. I know so many people are probably screaming at the screen because they hate Cars 2. Let me explain why I don't hate Cars 2. The reason I don't hate Cars 2 is because I think the way that they experimented with the spy aspect is done quite well. So the spy aspect is weird. Like, why would you choose to do that? And why would you choose to put Mater in the front seat rather than McQueen? Well, let's think about that. I think the dynamic between Mater and McQueen has always been my favourite part about these Cars films. And the fact that they go through these rocky patches is done really, really well. And because these two are literally some of my favourite film characters of all time, to see them argue, to see them disagree, hits quite hard for me. It doesn't really have an emotional hook to it, but the action sequences are great. The soundtrack, I would argue, is even better than the first. The Grand Prix, I think that's phenomenal. I love that. And obviously, you know, I understand that people don't like this film, and I respect it, but we are all entitled to our own opinions. And if you don't like Cars 2, fine by me. I do love it, so that's my personal opinion. You can disagree with me if you want, but there you go. Then we have Brave. So we've actually gone quite slow, but oh well, who cares? So we've got Brave. Brave is a funny one for me because I actually am going to put it in D. It's going to be the first Pixar film to go in D today, and the thing with Brave is it feels like it's a knockoff of a Disney film, despite it being a Disney film. I don't understand why this isn't just one of those Disney princess films that Disney released, you know, like Moana and Princess and the Frog and Tangled and whatnot. I just don't think the story was very strong. The whole plot with like the bears and everything, I thought the mother in it was more irritating than she was likable. And the way that it presented parents, I didn't really like. The whole plot about the mother turned into a bear just, I think, is so bizarre, and I just don't see why that's a thing. And it's also really, really dark, but for no good reason. It's just dark, but like, give us a reason why it's dark. It's just like, it's trying to be really dark and enchanted, like Game of Thrones or something, but why? Why do you need to do that? So, yeah, this film didn't really work very well for me. So, for that reason, it's going in D. Then we have Monsters University. Now, I actually think this is the most underrated Pixar film. So I'm going to put it here. Yeah, Monsters University. Maybe it's not what everyone asked for when they asked for a sequel to Monsters Inc. But I think what they managed to do with this one is actually really, really clever. I think the best thing about the Monsters Inc. films is that they managed to just create any character that is instantly likable and you really care about. And this film actually delves into a certain theme which I don't know any film that's ever done, and it's like it either connects with you or it doesn't. For me, it really, really does. Like, it's one of those Pixar. This for me, this is one of the most impactful Pixar films because of its messaging. And this is a film about talent and how no matter how hard you try, sometimes you can't achieve that. And that may sound really depressing. Like, why do you want to watch that? But it's like we see Mike Wazowski who kind of goes through this plot, and it's like he learns that he's not meant to be a scarer. So it's like no matter how hard you study, no matter how hard you try, sometimes it is unachievable. And it's the hard truth to accept. Mike Wazowski is not scary. And through this film, we see everyone around him tell him that, and he doesn't accept it. And then we have Sully, who literally puts no effort into any of his work, yet still achieves that. And that's a frustration which even I have experienced, where, you know, no matter how you study, you try, you revise, you do all of this, and then you see the person next to you who did nothing and still succeeds. And that message is really, really great. Then we have Uzma Kappa and the Scare Games. I just think it's hilarious and so great in there. Those characters are really, really good. And if they do a season 3 of Monsters at Work, that series, please bring them back. Honestly, I think that they're really, really great. Then we have Inside Out. So this is actually one I rewatched just the other day, actually. And we're going to put it here. So Inside Out is actually one of those films where I don't think I'd watched it before until like well, I went to the cinema to see it, and then I watched it, like I rewatched it when I was younger, and then I didn't really rewatch it again, and then I rewatched it again just this past week, and just forgot how deep and emotional this film really is. I mean, where do we start? I mean, the 5 emotions in here are so great and you connect to really, really well. And how he explains the law and how the memories work and how it makes up your personality and how we grow, and we can't just be happy all the time. It's important to experience different emotions, especially sadness. Is done really, really great. And this film is so good that we all cried when an imaginary elephant friend faded away. Yes, this film is that good that it managed to achieve what seemed to be the unachievable. So, yeah, this film is great. Really, really likable characters. It's a very, very emotional, beautiful animation. What's not to love? Then we have The Good Dinosaur, and this is a funny one for me because I'm gonna put it at the bottom of B because I think it's a good film. Like, say a studio like DreamWorks or Illumination were to put this out, it would be really, really good, and the animation is great as well. But like for Pixar standards, it's actually pretty low because it's got a very, very, very simple story which doesn't really offer a lot, and it's just like it's a fun watch, and that's all it is. It's easy, fun watch, but like it doesn't do anything else special. It's all stuff which I feel I've seen before in a better film. Um, that being said, it's not bad. It's just like it's everything I've seen all of this before, and it's got everything in there which could be emotional, but it's just simpler. So yeah, simplified, I guess, like a fraction. There you go. There's a maths reference in there for you. Then we have Finding Dory. So we're on, I think, 2016 now. Finding Dory. Now, I'm going to put this here. Now, Finding Dory is actually a film which works surprisingly well. It's nowhere near as good as the first one, I don't think, but it doesn't feel like a direct copy of Finding Nemo, because this one more explores. It's not as much finding Dory; it's about finding Dory's parents, and we have all these different new characters in here. You know, Hank. We have Bailey, Destiny. All of these just great characters who are just so likable and so fun. It's just good. It's a return to this world with these characters. Not quite as emotional, doesn't hit quite as hard, but it's still really, really fun and really, really great to watch at the same time. So I do really, really enjoy this film. Like, I don't have many issues with this film. I think it's fun and enjoyable. So, you know, it's a really, really good watch. So, yeah, I don't have loads to say about it, because, I mean, if I'm in the mood for a finding film, I'm gonna watch Nemo. But Dory is always a good watch. You know, I'm not complaining if I go to someone's house and they're like, "Do you want to watch one or the other?" and they choose Finding Dory. I'm not complaining. I'm still happy to watch Finding Dory because it's a great film. Then with Cars 3, um, I don't really like this one as much as the other ones, and it's not A tier material. I'm gonna put it here, because I think the plot itself about Lightning McQueen, you know, getting back to the racing and becoming this, you know, he is this old washed out racer, and I'm normally against them deconstructing my favourite childhood characters, but with this one is I think they do it quite well, because obviously he has his crash and he has to learn to become a racer again. I think it actually tugs at the heartstrings really, really well, and it pays off. Everything about this film is really great until we get to that last 25 minutes, because Cruz Ramirez is a character in this who I'm not the biggest fan of. I thought she was quite irritating and annoying, and you know where it's going. And when Lightning McQueen is racing, he stops and makes Cruz go in the race. First of all, that is cheating. You cannot do that in the middle of a race. You know, if you're watching an F1 game and Max Verstappen got out of his car and some of his random crew chief came in and started racing, it's against the rules. You can't do that. So the fact that they did that in this, it just doesn't pay off. And I just don't like Cruz very much. I just don't like her as a character. I think she's irritating, not as well developed. So, and it annoys me, because when I watch that scene, I'm just like, if Lightning McQueen had done this and won this race, it would have been so satisfying. But it's a good conclusion to this trilogy. Whether they do a fourth one and expand it, I don't know. Then we have Coco. Oh, I love Coco. Coco's a great film. Coco's got to go to, I think I'm going to put it, oh, it's between here and here. Do I like it? I'm going to put it here. Coco is a film which is it's a very focused film. You know, it's a film which, like, where I live, I don't have the Day of the Dead. Yet I really connect with this film at the same time. And this is one of the most emotional Pixar films to date. The music is so great, like the Mexican music, and the way that it presents putting your photo on top of the shelf, you know, putting your photo up on the Day of the Dead, and your relatives can see you. It's like, it takes what is a true, like, religion. Well, I want to say religion, but belief, and expands upon that. And, like, we see these different characters adapt to it, and, like, how we have Coco as a character who, in that last 5 minutes, is one of the most beautiful, most heartbreaking animated scenes of all time, and pays off so well. So I love it. Really, really great. It's funny, it's cute, it's emotional, it hits all the right notes. I'm just upset I didn't see this one at the cinema. I wish I did, because I think this one would have been a good one. And again, this is another one of those ones which a sequel may be able to happen. I don't know, I'm normally against sequels, but well. Incredibles 2, I was just thinking about this film actually. Incredibles 2 is a film which I didn't think would work very well, but it's just next to this the actually I'm just gonna change this. I'm gonna put Cars 3 back there because I actually think these ones are a bit better. So The Incredibles 2 is kind of puts Elastigirl in the front seat. She is the protagonist, and it works really well actually. It copies some of the same themes, about developing and midlife crisis and a twist villain and things. And the animation and the actual models of the characters doesn't look great, but it's still a great film. It's funnier than the first one. Um, I felt like it was a bit more like modern, and I feel they kind of developed that really, really well. Obviously, we've got the jokes and the humor with Jack and everything. It's really, really funny, and the film picks up directly after the first one, so we get to see that whole sequence with the Underminer and things like that. Like, it's really, really great. Only thing holding it back is I think the twist villain wasn't very good, very predictable, and very similar to the first one. And then the villain I didn't find to be as strong. I know some people think it was stronger, but I don't know. Elastigirl in the front seat, I actually think I enjoyed that more than Mr. Incredible. I don't really know why, but I just did. Then we have Toy Story 4, and this film really upsets me because I really wanted to love this film, but it's going. It's going. It's going at the bottom of C, and if it really upsets me that I'm saying this about Toy Story. Toy Story is literally one of the greatest film franchises of all time, and this film kind of ruined it. I think the idea of what they had with how Toy Story 3 ended off the Andy trilogy, but they wanted to expand it into Woody, worked out quite well. But I don't know what happened. Something went wrong with this film. So the villain in this film is Gabby Gabby. So bad. I don't like the villain. I just think Familiar. She spends the whole film whining, and she's so unlikable. And then we have Bo Peep coming back. She's just no point. I just don't see why. And like, all she does, she's another character who just whines at Woody the whole time. And then we have like Ducky and Bunny, who are like they're cool, they're alright. And then we have Forky as well, and Duke Kaboom and things. Like, it's fine. It's just like, for Toy Story, it should have been so much better. And it's like, Forky is a great character, and it's like it sidelines all of the other characters, all the old characters who we know and love, and it deconstructs Woody into being this, again, it copies the same themes of the third film with being forgotten and everything. And the way, no, Andy would be so disappointed if she found out that Bonnie did not love Woody. Like, I don't know. This film really, really didn't work for me. I know some people love it. I know some people hate it. I don't know what happened. Honestly, I have no words to explain what happened to this film. So, yeah, I wanted to love this film, and every time I rewatch it, I try my hardest to forget about all that. I can have a fun time with it. It's not awful. It's just not good. It's bad. So, yeah. Yeah, that was kind of depressing to talk about, for honest. Then we have Onward. Now, Onward is actually, it's better. I like Onward, actually. I know some people really didn't like Onward. I actually I didn't like it at the time. I was really disappointed at first, but this film really grew on me. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it. I think I'm gonna put it in B. So I think the messaging about brotherhood and parents and father roles is actually really, really strong. Um, my main issue with the film is the kind of the journey and the whole quest, because the quest was kind of for nothing. It has its moments, but you just kind of find out, oh, the whole quest was kind of for no reason. Um, and it's like, I don't really know. The characters are really likable. I related more to Ian than I did Barley. Obviously, Tom Holland and Chris Pratt in there. Um, but I do find myself rewatching this film a lot on my own for some reason. It's not because most of my fan. It's not a film which is much loved. I feel by many people. I feel I'm one of the only people that actually love it. Um, I really, really do enjoy this film, and every time I watch it, it grows on me. Um, so it's a film where every time I watch it, it does grow on me. I like it a lot more than some other people. Obviously, when it first came out, I was quite disappointed in it, but I think at the end is really, really emotional and brought tears to my eyes. So yeah. So then we have Soul. So we're coming towards the end. We've only got 5 more left. My mouth is so dry. Oh, I need a drink. Okay. Then we have Soul. This is also a really, really great film. This is difficult. I'm gonna put it here, I think. I think the thing with Soul is it's really great, but it's not got that rewatchability that the other ones do. Because it's about death, it's a pretty depressing film. I think everything about this film is great. I'm just not a fan of the body swapping thing. And it's a film about making the most of the time that we have left and listening to other people and just hearing them talk. That's what's good about this film. So, yeah, I really do love this film. I think the themes are done really, really well. And I think, this is a good film to show to your children if, you want to speak to them about death and teaching them about that. So yeah, I did really enjoy this film, personally. Then we have Luca. Luca is a film which is fun. It's just pure fun. So I think I'm gonna put it here. So Luca is a film which isn't it doesn't do anything big and doesn't reach for the fences. It's just a fun watch. It's a better film than Good Dinosaur because I feel how it presents its themes a lot. This is probably one of the most rewatchable Pixar films. I've watched this film loads of times and have a blast every time I watch it. It's really, really cute. Like the bromance between Luca and Alberto is really, really great. And it's just a small film, but it works really, really well. So I really, really enjoyed this film. I 100% rewatch it again. It's not amazing. It's not a masterpiece, but well. Then we have Turning Red. Turning Red is actually my least favourite Pixar film, so it goes in D. I think with Turning Red is my biggest issue with it is the way that it presents parents. So the mum in it is so annoying and irritating and is unsupportive to her child, and that is not that isn't what should be presented in a children's film. It literally presents the idea that once children grow up, they shouldn't have any contact with their parents. That's the idea this film gives off, and that is that's not really good for a kids' film. It's a more film which is aimed at teenage females, which is fine. I respect that. If teenage female love this film, if anyone loves this film, I respect it. It's just it's not aimed for me. I'm a teenage male. It's not aimed at me. So I respect that. I respect people. I respect this film. I do have a lot of respect for it. But putting all that aside, the parent thing is awful. And I do not agree with what they did with it because I think it is just awful. It's shameful the way that they did it. So I don't agree with it. But yeah. Then we've got Lightyear. Now Lightyear is it's okay, but over time it's gone down a bit. So I'm gonna put it here. At the time, I did enjoy it. It's just I don't like the villain twist and the way that Buzz is presented and how he's deconstructed. I like Chris Evans voicing him, but how he's deconstructed and how he's sidelined in his own film just makes no sense to me. So yeah, it's a good film. It's okay. It's it doesn't, to me, it doesn't seem like the film that Andy would have watched to warrant him wanting his own Buzz Lightyear toy like that. It doesn't do that. Um, it's okay though. It's fine. That's all it is. It's fine. It should have been, could have been a lot better, but it's not. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Then we've got Elemental. Elemental's cute. It's an immigration story, so it's actually really important what it's trying to say, and I think we're gonna put it here. Beta is getting pretty cramped up. So I think the duo of Wade and Ember is actually really good, and I think the way that it presents the different elements, water, fire, air, and earth, is actually really great. Like that's animation which I feel I haven't seen before, and this film does that really well. Um, my biggest issue with the film is like it feels like it needs to have its own large plot, which warranted it having its own big final battle, like that kind of thing. Like I didn't need that. So like that was pretty disappointing. Um, but like apart from that though, this film's great. It's a really good film. I absolutely loved it. When I watched it, I was very surprised by it. You know, so there you go. Then we have the final film on the list, Inside Out 2. Now, this film is the latest Pixar film, and I saw it yesterday, and I absolutely loved it. And on the rare occasion, I think it was actually better than the first. I know a lot of people have been saying it was, some it wasn't. I actually think it was, so I'm going to put it on top. So yeah, it made the top 10. It made number 7 on my Pixar ranking. This film, the way that it understands teenagers and how we grow up and how we have new emotions come along is really positive. And how we have anxiety, embarrassment, ennui, and envy in the mix. I think anxiety was my favourite character in this because of the way that she's presented, because she's not always presented in a negative way. I mean, most of the time she is, but like as a character, I think she's well written, and it's like you can't. It's learning about not pushing away your loved ones, but also the act of not letting anxiety take over. That was really important to me. So I connected with that a lot. That being said, it's got a very good human plot as well. Um, so, like, it's got a very well written plot with Riley and everything, which I feel the first one lacked. The characters are really good. Obviously, we've got some new cast members in here. Maya Hawke's Anxiety, I always said, was a standout to me. I think this film was a beautiful experience. It's funny, it's emotional, it hits all the right notes, and for me, this was the perfect time for this film to come out. So I really connected with it, and I would watch this film again and again and again. Like it's one of those really watchable films. I think it's like the best Pixar film in years. It's really great. So I have literally nothing but positive stuff to say about this film. It's really great in that aspect, and it's not even recency biased because I'm not someone who has that. Like for me, the way that it presented anxiety and family and parents was really good, and it's pretty much just a better version of Turning Red for me. It's one of those films where anyone can watch it. So yeah, that is the ranking. That is my ranking of all of them. Now I've just been thinking about it, finding the emo I would like to put back up here, and I think I can. I think I'm happy with that. Maybe I'll put Wall-E in front of Onward. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. Maybe we'll move. Actually, we'll move Wall-E up to A. Yeah, I think I can live with that. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe yeah, pretty happy with that. So yeah, guys, that is gonna wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment, unsubscribe, share to your friends, family, and let me know your thoughts down below on your Pixar ranking. And if you haven't seen Inside Out 2, what do you think about it? And if you disagree or you agree, that's great. We're all entitled to our own opinions, and I'm really glad that I was able to speak about Pixar here because it's one of the greatest film studios of all time, and it's a studio which can be good for both adults and children. So it did it all really, really well for me. I love Pixar. I'm going to continue watching the films. I'm going to continue to go see them and support them. And I cannot wait for Elio next year. And I know we're getting Toy Story 5 and all of these other ones. But yeah, so that's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.